my name is Monique Young, and I'm currently in the Watermill production of Barnum, and I'm playing the role of Charity Barnum, or known as in the show as Cherry Barnum.
Marvelous. And then I start my interviews by kind of going back to the beginnings. I know we've talked before, so we may have already covered this in previous interviews. But kind of when did your kind of career begin, and when did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, of course. I think I always danced from such an early age, like three onwards, and I just loved it so much. And I didn't know it was possible to have a career in the performing arts until maybe I was about 11 or 12, when a dance teacher said, "Oh, you should audition for Tring," which is a performing arts school up in Hertfordshire. And I was like, Tring? I've never heard of it. Went online, looked at the application to audition and just applied straight away. And luckily enough was able to get in. And then went there from the ages about 14 to 18. And then from then onwards went on to Arts Ed. And then was there for 3 years and then was lucky enough to get an agent and begin auditioning. But it kind of happened very suddenly, of just like realizing, oh, you could do this as a career. I would love to do this as a career. And it just sort of blossomed from then, which is great.
Yes. And then were there any kind of people or performances that were ones that kind of thought, oh, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I remember seeing The Lion King at the age of like 8, I think it was. And I already love the movie, but seeing it on stage, like right in front of me live with the puppets and the music, the additional music of Elton John and the dancing, I was just sort of mesmerized and absolutely in awe of everyone on stage. And I think I couldn't stop talking about it for a very long time. And then I moved from the States, actually. So I was born in the States and we moved over. We didn't watch many shows in the States at the time because we were like California based. So we weren't necessarily where many live theatre was. So coming over to the UK, where, the London West End is got so many incredible shows, and it's in the heart of the city, an hour train journey from where we were living. So we ended up making it a thing and going up every so often as a family, which was lovely.
Yes. And then, as you say, on to Barnum, where you are right now. You're
Yes.
kind of a few weeks into the run, but kind of what first attracted you to the role and this production in particular?
Yeah, funny enough, I wasn't like very familiar with the show. I knew the storyline, obviously, P.T. Barnum, not only through Greatest Showman, which I think a lot of people relate to Barnum through the Greatest Showman. I know my family, I'm like, oh, he's based on the Greatest Showman. That's like the quickest answer to really say. But him being obviously a true person, a real person who was famous for creating the Barnum and Bailey circus. That's what he's really renowned for. And I knew some of the songs, but when I was reading the script and the character, she's a real force to be reckoned with. A very modern woman of in 18. We go from about 1835 to 1880, and for that era, she was a very modern and strong woman who was the rock, really, to Barnum. He had the dreams. He's the American dreamer, and she's more of the realistic human being in the show. And the theme, there's a theme that's like humbug versus truth. Obviously, humbug being Barnum and truth being Charity. They're the complete polar opposites, but they are each other's rocks. And I feel that she's got such a heart of gold, but also won't take any, she won't be a pushover. She'll absolutely stand up what she believes in. And there's, I won't spoil this story too much if people are going to come and see. But there's a part in the show where, Jenny Lynn comes in, and if people are familiar, they'll know that, Barnum ends up managing Jenny Lynn. There's a relationship that forms between them. And I think instead of, maybe putting up a bit of a fight and going, oh, what about me? She kind of just accepts it, deals in her own way,
Yeah.
and obviously is hurt, but it's like, well, I don't. In a way, she doesn't need him, and but he needs her. I mean, at the end of the day, they do both need each other, but it's a lovely moment where you just kind of see the strongness of her and her stableness in herself, which is great. Yeah, especially in that era.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be playing a strong woman who also, she has a playfulness to her as well, which
Yeah.
is why, yeah, I think her and Barnum work so well together. They play off each other. She plays him at his own game, and I think that's what also that he finds appealing in her and attractive in her. They kind of see themselves, who they kind of want to be in a way through the other person. Which is lovely. That it's a lovely relationship they have, which I and Matt Rawl, who plays P.T. Barnum, is absolutely extraordinary, and yeah, it's so much fun to play opposite him.
Yes. And then obviously you touch on playing real characters and the real history that kind of the two that shared. What kind of did you do much research into those characters from the real lives before you started doing the role?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the show is kind of like a rough basis on the characters. P.T. Barnum and Jenny Lind didn't really have an affair. They absolutely hated each other, apparently. And I know who would have known. But obviously, to kind of dramatize it for the show, they have that element and that obstacle in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely did some research. It was great to see what they. Obviously, sometimes when you see what they look like, it kind of puts like an image into your mind.
Yeah.
And obviously, their history of their relationship and how many kids they had, and they had 4 children, and it was really interesting. Charity, again, spoiler of the show, she passes away before Barnum does, and they have. Yeah, he's left with 4 children, but one of them, it doesn't go into detail, did something not quite good, and he sort of disowned her in a way, which, I mean, gosh, just, sometimes it still happens now, which is, ridiculous. But yeah, I love history. That's one of my favorite things. I wish I kind of took history as an A level, because as an actor, if we do something that's based on like a true person, I just love getting into the history of the person, even if it's not completely accurate for the story. It helps sort of establish who you want the character to be, and also play a bit of homage to the character as well.
Then obviously it's not a new musical necessarily. It's been around for kind of, I don't know when it started. I was looking earlier, kind of 1980s, I think.
Yeah, 1980, yeah. Which was, I think, the Broadway version of Jim Dale and Glenn Close, who originated Charity Barnum, which is, I mean, so cool. I didn't even know that, actually, until listening to cast recordings, and I was like, I had no idea. Amazing.
Yeah, you kind of preempted my next question there. Do you kind of then, when you're doing a musical that's not necessarily new, do you listen to the soundtracks to kind of get that, or do you kind of just do it in the kind of rehearsal room?
Yeah, I try not to listen to it too much, because this show I actually wasn't very familiar with at all. I listened to a little bit, because obviously I find I don't want to listen to a cast recording and that have an influence on how I'm going to play it or sing it. So I'll try not listen to it loads, but it was just nice to have a little understanding of the style and the basis of the Cy Coleman music. I'm a big fan of Cy Coleman. I've never done a Cy Coleman show before. Yeah. He knows how to write a show tune, indeed. Yeah, it's they're so memorable. And I think that's it. I kind of was listening to some of the songs going, oh, I know that song. Yeah. Prince of Humbug. Oh, yeah, I know that one. And the museum songs. Oh, I recognize that one too. So yeah, that was lovely to come to it and be like, oh, yeah, I do know more than I think.
Then what's it like being in such a, I know we were talking before about the kind of the element of the outside element and the pre-show stuff. What's it like being in a show where you're kind of combining actor, musicians and the whole circus element in such an intimate space as well?
I mean, it's extraordinary. It is. I've never done an actor musicianship show at all. Actor music
Mm.
show, sorry,
Yep.
and it is extraordinary. I think it was week one and week two. We were in the rehearsal room, which is not far from the theatre,
Yeah.
in a tiny little room, and everyone's getting their instruments out, but not one. It's like five instruments that they play, which is I've never seen anything like it in my life. It
Yeah.
made me feel very untalented.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, like, and just getting on and doing it and being amazing. It really felt like band camp. I've
Yeah.
never been to band camp, but I think it's probably the closest I'll ever feel to being at band camp. And we were there in the rehearsal room learning the musical together, and it just felt like such a safe and collaborative and actually a real bonding sort of feel for the company. So I think by the time we were opening and in previews, it felt like we were really close as a team and a company,
Yeah.
because it essentially, not that you ever feel separate from, the orchestra in this show, but we're all on the stage together, creating this music,
Yeah.
feeling it all together. It's a completely different experience. And then adding the circus element as well,
Mhm.
with these incredible circus performers as well, who can just do, aerial and silks and hoop and, acrobatics and fire and tricks. It's extraordinary, and again, it's just seeing it done in a space like this as well, in such an intimate space, and the use of the space, not only in the theatre but outside of the theatre. I think it creates a wonderful feel of entering. You really do feel like you're entering the circus, where step into the grounds. You see fire, Andre, who is specializes in fire, eating fire and the tricks of the
Yeah.
fire. And it's so impressive. And I watch it every day, but some days I'm just like, I sit there and I'm like, that's amazing. So I think our director, Jonathan O'Boyle, is incredible, and his creative mind of what he's created in this space using all those elements is so impressive. And I'm in awe of everyone every night. And I feel like I've never experienced anything like this before, actually. I'm even getting out an instrument that I haven't played in 14 years.
Yeah.
Our musical supervisor, George Dyer, sort of came up to me and was like, do you play an instrument? And I was like, oh, I played an instrument maybe about 13 years ago. It was the flute. I've maybe touched it twice, maybe once in lockdown to see if I could play a note or two. And maybe like a couple of years after I left Tring. So I'm playing in the show, which has been such a lovely challenge to relearn. I feel actually like, oh, I'm so glad I'm playing this in the show.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you should put it back on your CV. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to
Well,
think about that. I mean, I'm playing it in the show, so maybe I should.
yeah, you should. You should. It's on there.
But yeah, it's a brilliant experience, and especially in the summer, it's the audience we get are, we get loads of families that come, and some of our families come and friends, and it really sets up the show so lovely before entering the theatre.
Yeah, and obviously saying before, seeing Lord of the Rings last year, the way in kind of they bring the spectacle, and obviously I'm not seeing this yet, but the spectacle of that show, but is actually in the space, it kind of magnified the actual characters more, I think. I don't know if that's what you kind of felt here.
Yeah, it's so lovely to be in such an intimate space, because you can see every audience member, and this show in particularly really involves the audience, and we need the audience.
Yeah.
They're so a part of the show, not only because Barnum sort of does his sides to the audience, speaks to the audience, but we are amongst the audience many times. So it feels like we're collectively all experiencing and in the show together. in the design that Lee, our designer, did is like a big top inside the theatre. So it's like almost like we are in a tent,
Yeah.
and it's just cleverly done. So it really does magnify those scenes and those characters and those moments of we're all on stage together, sort of just really listening to each other. Yeah, it really does feel very special to be a part of.
And obviously, if you were then to yourself have a circus skill, what do you think it would be?
Oh, well, actually, funny enough, our circus performers have very kindly been teaching some of us some aerial. So last week, I was learning some hoop.
Yeah.
It was on a Friday. Had about half an hour. There was a couple. There was another girl, EJ, in the cast who had a go as well, and just they were teaching us how to just literally how to get up on a hoop. And it was so hard. They make it look so easy. My arms were killing at the end. But I'd love to try and do the hoop. I used to do gymnastics when I was very little. So when we were rehearsing, Emily, who specializes in acrobatics, she's part of the GP team actually. She was doing some walkovers and flips, and I was like, oh, I haven't done this in years, and started to do it and kind of was remembering, but she was giving me some tips, and I was like, that's something I would like to try and be better at as well. So hoop and acrobatics of some form.
Yeah. By the end of the run, you'll be.
Yes, I hope so. We've got a couple of weeks. Let's hope.
And then, as we say, kind of The Greatest Showman is probably where people know Barnum's name now. Do you think that's kind of changed audiences' perspective when they're coming in to watch this version?
Yeah, I think they have some form of knowledge of him on what he's about, and sort of what he was known for. Absolutely. I think if people are expecting to see The Greatest Showman, obviously the songs are different and the story is different as well.
Yeah.
But I do think if I hadn't told my family, like, oh, this is based on, you saw The Greatest Showman, it's, that character, P.T. Barnum, they probably wouldn't really know what to expect at all, apart from maybe some circus feel to it. So I think it probably has opened up a door for people to come and see this show, because they're probably like, oh, I recognize that name. I'm intrigued about it. I'd love to see this. This was the musical before The Greatest Showman. I'd love to see, and obviously, if people know Michael Crawford, he did it in the West End. So if people are fans of Michael Crawford, I think they might know, obviously, of this musical. But I think it has maybe opened up an audience in some aspect as well, which is great, because I think people will probably be a bit more intrigued about maybe this story.
Yeah, that's what I think, because I saw watch on Amazon Prime once, and Michael Crawford. I don't know if it's still on there. It used to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? Someone who came to see the show yesterday said it used to be on Amazon Prime, and then I think they've taken it off now. It's on you. I think some of it's on YouTube. I didn't watch it, but there was one little scene I was really intrigued how they would have done it back in the 80s. So I sort of typed it in. I found a little clip. So I think they had the whole show on there.
Yeah.
Someone probably filmed it, put it on.
How dare they?
Don't tell Prime.
Don't tell Prime. Yeah, no, it's fine. Then, kind of away from this, your next role has kind of already been announced as well, which you're going to do Hello Dolly.
Yes.
How exciting is that for you?
Yeah, really exciting. It's a lovely little full circle, actually, because probably like my third job out of college, I went to do 42nd Street out there for Stephen Mia, who's wonderful. And so it's been a good couple of years since I've been in Paris, but also Hello Dolly. I haven't seen the one in town. I'm sure I'm going to absolutely see it. I've got some friends in it. And I saw it on Broadway with Donna Murphy, and it was Bernadette Peters who was doing it, and I didn't see Bernadette Peters.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do it, but I saw Donna Murphy, who I'm also a big fan of as well. And yeah, it's such a beautiful show, very, very classy and very funny. That Dolly is a brilliant, probably one of the most brilliant woman roles in musical theatre, a bit like Mama Rose-esque, like just a mammoth, amazing, funny role that drives the show. So yeah, really, really exciting. And to be at the Lido as well, Lido too. I've not been there since they've obviously changed the venue into for more theatre and musical theatre. So that would be really exciting.
Amazing. I will say now that you're doing that from the 7th of November to the 5th of January. So everyone should get tickets for that as well. But then these are more just general questions for you. This one's going to throw you right under the bus because you're not prepared for this. If you were stranded on a desert island with 3 musical theatre soundtracks, what would you take with you?
Gypsy. That was straight away because I love the overture. Oh, that's probably the best overture in musical theatre.
Yes.
Gypsy. I think it's going to be a lot of Sondheim, actually. I can feel it. Maybe. Oh, maybe. Oh gosh, this is so hard actually, because I'm now thinking of so many. Speaking on the Cy Coleman theme, we'll say Sweet Charity. So we've gone Gypsy, Sweet Charity, and Sunday in the Park with George.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to change daily,
Yeah.
even hourly. Probably change my mind an hour. But yeah, for now, those are the 3.
Yeah, they're good choices. Nice mix.
Yeah, nice mix. Yeah,
that's what you want. But then,
absolutely.
Simply, what does theatre mean to you in your life?
Theatre is so important, I think, for this culture and this life, this generation. It's such an amazing escapism from the real world, but it also is very thought-provoking, depending on what you see. And I think it really opens people's minds up to things they might not know, or things that they didn't know, or they did know and they want to know more. I find the best theatre sort of challenges you as a person, makes you question things in life, but also makes you hungry to be a better person. It's so subjective, theatre in general, and I find the best theatre is when you sort of leave and you can't stop thinking about it, and you want to know more about it, or you want to talk to people about it and have discussions and debates and deep chats about the whole experience. So I think it can mean so many things to different people. I find the escapism aspect a great thing, or even like things that highlight life. Actually, at the moment, you go, "Oh gosh, that was written like this." For example, there's some things you're like, "Oh, that was written, lots of years ago," and actually, that's not really changed very much, unfortunately. And so I think it also can sort of highlight that aspect, or can highlight the other way around of, this society has changed in a way. But yeah, lots of things. Yeah, they can't stop thinking about it. That's I think what it means. And the love of going to the theatre and sort of going into little world, other people's worlds, and for 2 hours and a half. The allowance of that's quite exciting too.
And then just like a show like Barnum, where you say the audience is there, right there, and you can see them, does that kind of help you as a performer? Because you like say, when you're in that moment, and you can see someone's having a great time, that must drive you.
Yeah, I always notice it in Come Follow the Band. Is our first number in Act Two, and everyone is playing an instrument, and we're all in like I'm in a clown outfit. Matt's also in a clown outfit. We have everyone in sort of marching band outfits, and the joy of the audience. That's when you can see the audience just literally just the joy of it is infectious, and yeah, it's so lovely to see, and to have that intimate conversation without any words
Yeah.
is also really awesome as well.
My final question to wrap everything up, go for the big sell here. Why should anyone who hasn't booked yet come and book to see Barnum at the Watermill?
Yes. Well, I think as a collective, it's you would have never seen a Barnum musical done like this before, ever. I've never seen Barnum done like this before. I mean, I've never seen Barnum, but I've never seen it done like this before. In the fact that, the actor muso, the circus, the space, the pre-show, the Watermill is so special, and it really goes. Our gardens are. We've got hot dogs and popcorn and places you can get photos done, and you obviously got all the actors around playing pieces of music, and got the sex performers doing tricks, and that sets you up for the show, and we really do throw everything at it. So much goes on, and it's so impressive, and I just think you'll be really missing something really special in this space, and it's very entertaining to watch. And I think if you even come twice, you'll see something new that you didn't see before because of where you're sat in the space, or just of how much goes on in the show. I think sometimes you miss because it really is. We give it everything, and I'm so impressed by the incredible company that are a part of it. They're just so talented. I've never known anything like it.
Amazing.
So come and see us. Come and see us.
Do it.
Don't miss out.
Leads me to say that Barnum runs at the Watermill in Newbury until Sunday, the 8th of September.